So the Chicago Sky just had a really, really tough loss today. And I thought they were good. Like, I was actually kind of impressed with how the Chicago Sky played. Um I was not like it was a good game, but they had the chance to basically guarantee their playoff spot. They had a chance to pretty much guarantee their playoff spot with a win against Atlanta. But now they're in a position where right now the 8, 9, and 10 team all have identical records with 2 games to go. The Mystics, who again, the Mystics losing in overtime to the Dream. If the Mystics were 14 and 24, the Mystics would just have to go and beat they would just have to beat Indiana in the last game or New York, win one of the two, and they're guaranteed in the playoffs. But the reality of this is the Mystics are playing Liberty, and they're also playing the Fever. I don't think the Fever are going to roll over. They're not going to roll over before the playoff starts, especially because Chicago making the playoffs means that they don't get paybackers. Or sorry, doesn't even mean they don't get paybackers. It means they don't get a top 5 pick. If they make the playoffs, they don't get a top 5 pick. Whereas where they are right now, they're guaranteed a top 4. It seems. But you have got Atlanta, Chicago, and Washington on the same wins. But in this game, I was really impressed. Like Brace O'Bannon did miss her last 5 3-pointers. Onion Ware has really impressed me. She has really impressed me since coming into the starting lineup. Cardoso, it was her shoulder injury. She didn't really play. I think Izzy Harrison has been really impressing me since coming in. But this team is not very good. It's just not. You're missing Angel Reese, Elizabeth Williams, Camila Cardoso. Right now, outside of Carter and Onion Ware, their next 3 best players. People forget that Elizabeth Williams was their best big to start the year. I know you're seeing 10 and 7, but by the time she got injured was before the double-double streak. She was the better of the two. She was their true center, whereas Angel Reese more so played kind of 4 or 5. They were kind of interchangeable. And then obviously Cardoso came into the starting lineup. She's probably done for the year. The Dream pulled it off. Because that could have been really screwed. Because again, the Mystics own the Dream's pick. Not the end of the world. The Mystics drop into the drop out of the playoffs for them. Realistically, whoever gets that 8 spot is fodder. But for the Mercury, Celeste Taylor playing 29 minutes is crazy. She had some of the worst shooting I've ever seen. She didn't even way off Piet into the side of the backboard. She shot a 3 from the corner and hit the top of the backboard. I've never seen it before. I've never seen a player do that before in pro basketball. No one anywhere near. Griner and Diana Taurasi destroyed them. This was a Mercury team that did not have Cat Copper. There was no Cat Copper. This team is fodder for whoever finishes second as well. The Mercury, look, I really like Tash Cloud. I still think Taurasi is a decent player at this stage in her career. I think Brittany Griner is one of the better centers in the WNBA. I think Sophie Cunningham's a great role player. I like Celeste Taylor as a bench option. But you cannot be playing Celeste Taylor 30 minutes a game. You just can't. Not right now. Celeste Taylor is better than Katie Lou Samuelson. She could definitely back up Lexi Hull if she was in the Fever, but still, this is such a weak Mercury team, but they were just better than the Sky. I thought Kendi Carter towards the end of the game did. She was aggressive. Lindsay Allen kind of struggled a bit, but the fact the Sky are still hanging in this is mad. It is mad. I thought Dallas were going to be the team that broke in. They had the most to play for. They were the only team who it is irrelevant whether or not they make the playoffs or their draft pick. The Dallas Wings making the playoffs, but they went on an 8-game losing streak to end the year. They went on a 3-game win streak and then an 8-game losing streak. They lost by 30 to the Sky without Angel Reese. They were so bad. They're so bad, and then they just turn it up and try to play against the Fever. To be fair, Arike had like her best game so far, of her season as far as efficiency wise goes, and they still lost. But yeah. So with Chicago at 13, they're in here at 8, but after losing the game, it's funny because Atlanta have the tiebreak over Washington. But Chicago have the tiebreak as of right now over Atlanta, which is a really interesting one. Because if Atlanta, even if Washington win out their 2 games, if Atlanta go and win their 2, Atlanta go through. Which is crazy. Like, it is ironically, you normally would say, oh, it's in Washington's hands because they're ahead. Ironically, it's in Atlanta's hands. The Atlanta Dream play the Liberty and the Sky. So one of Atlanta or Chicago has to win. Realistically, whoever wins that game is going to win. Because if Atlanta win, like the Sun aren't going to mail in against the Sky. They're not. So I will say, like, it's as good as, again, it is as good as, I think Minnesota play the Connecticut Sun. As long as Minnesota win one of their last 2 games they're through, they're in the second, and Connecticut Sun are going to be the team playing the Fever to end the year. But like, the Minnesota Lynx play the Connecticut Sun in their next game. If the Lynx beat the Sun, and like the Aces have the tiebreaker over the Sun, so like the Sun need to beat the Sky in an important game. So it's not going to be a rollover, and Marina Mabry's on the team. So for Chicago to make the playoffs, they have to beat Atlanta. I think it's very unlikely that Washington make the playoffs. For Washington to make the playoffs, they need to win one of their last 2 games, and they need Chicago to beat Atlanta. For Atlanta to make the playoffs, they need to beat Chicago and have Washington not win both of their games. And if Atlanta win both of their games, even though they're in last place here, if they win both of their games, they're in the playoffs. So this playoff race is crazy. It is crazy. But like, Tuesday night is Chicago versus Atlanta, which I think is going to be such a big game. That's going to be such a big game. Like, I want to see the schedule because that's basically, I think that's basically a playoff matchup. I do. I don't think the Mystics are going to beat the Liberty. But at the same time, the Mystics are playing the Liberty. The Sun are playing the Lynx. If the Lynx win, it's guaranteed. Pretty much guaranteed that the Sun are playing the Fever. And heck, if the Storm win and the Sun win, it's still guaranteed the Sun are playing the Fever. But yeah, I'm just looking through this and I'm like, this is a very, very interesting game on Tuesday night. These 2 games right here are going to probably decide who that last spot is. If the Mystics lose this game and the Atlanta Dream win, the Atlanta Dream are in the playoffs. Unless they don't win by enough to get the tiebreak over the Sky, and then the Sky beating Connecticut and Atlanta losing the Liberty will put them in the playoffs. It is a mad old end to the season. These games right here are going to be so entertaining. I'm going to be live on Tuesday night. I'm going to be live Tuesday night, live streaming these, because this is going to be a fun night of basketball.